Hello and welcome to the Vaults of Terra. My name is Ed and today we're going to be continuing with our Primarch videos with a quick look at Alpharius Omegon. He was the Primarch of the 20th Legion known as the Alpha Legion. He was also known as the Lord of Serpents and the last Primarch for his Legion number and the fact that he was the last Primarch found. The Primarch is known for his air of secrecy, with little known about him, including that he was in fact a twin, Alpharius and Omegon being completely different entities in separate bodies, but at the same time united with one soul as a singular Primarch of the Alpha Legion. Few knew this, and most believed that Alpharius Omegon was a single entity, allowing one of the twins, usually Omegon, to operate in secrecy, whilst Alpharius usually showed the public face of the Primarch. The secrecy and obfuscation about Alpharius Omegon included the Alpha Legion's Marines, who all used the same name, Alpharius, publicly to keep the identity of the Primarch hidden, and even used a solution made from the Primarch's own blood to make the Marines look like Alpharius for a short period, with enough accuracy to fool even Legion's apothecaries. This was assisted by the Primarch's stature, for whilst he was bald and copper-skinned with green and blue eyes, very much like Horus, he was not much larger than a standard legionary. Combined with the nondescript armour he wore, it would have been very hard for an enemy to distinguish the Legion's Primarch from that of a soldier on the battlefield. All the information about the Alpha Legion and Alpharius Omegon is suspect, as the greatest strength of the Legion was secrecy and misinformation. Even the records at the time were fragmented, with many contradictions and outright lies concealing the truth about the Legion. Like all information on the twins, their origin is shrouded in mystery, with multiple different accounts explaining their origin. We do know he was the last of the Primarchs found, only a handful of decades before the Horus Heresy began. Unlike the others, it was apparently Alpharius Omegon who found his way to his brothers. He had united a small group of worlds. Through stealth and guile, despite far more primitive ships and equipment, they were able to drive off an assault by the lunar wolves who had attempted to claim these worlds. Horus, angered and puzzled by his ship's defeat, came himself with the bulk of his fleet to take these worlds. However, rather than assaulting head-on, Alpharius deployed a ragtag alliance of small 1- and 2-man fighters hidden out in front of the fleet's formation, revealing themselves only when the fleet was in the greatest danger from the fighters. Alpharius boarded Horus's ship and assaulted the main bridge, some say alone, some say with 4 other men. Horus killed the other 4 raiders who had joined Alpharius, but Alpharius was quick enough to dodge Horus's shots. After regarding each other a moment, Horus ceased firing and laughed at the bizarre discovery of the last of his brothers, whose appearance was obviously so similar to his own. Bringing the worlds into the Imperium, Horus kept Alpharius by his side for several months, introducing him to the ways of the Imperium and the Great Crusade. The brothers were impressed by the other's skills, but Alpharius still remained silent about his origins to Horus, denying any of the worlds he had united were his homeworld. Finally, Alpharius journeyed to Terra to meet his father. It was a time of celebration, but far less opulent than it was for his brothers, the Crusade needing his father's full attention at this advanced stage. He was handed the Alpha Legion, itself only a few decades old, its creation the last of the Emperor's works on the Astartes, before he began to work on greater projects. Alpharius quickly integrated his tactics of stealth, trickery, guile, and misinformation into his Legion's tactics. It was effective, but some of the Primarchs, especially Guilliman of the Ultramarines, did not agree with this approach. This disagreement led to a violent discussion where the Ultramarines Primarch used his Legion's 200 years history of service and successes as a benchmark to show his tactics were superior. Unable to counter, with his Legion only being a few decades old, Alpharius left the meeting feeling dissatisfied and bitterly irritated with his brother's actions and words, vowing never to interact with the Ultramarines Primarch ever again. His dissatisfaction with his brother's attitude pushed Alpharius into more complex and subtle plans, always aiming to show how effective his tactics could be, regardless of the forces involved, and that his philosophy towards combat was not inferior to Guilliman's. Now, when the heresy occurred, it was almost predetermined that Alpharius would join Horus, with the Warmaster being the only brother Alpharius felt any kinship for or spent any time with. The Alpha Legion took part in the dropsite massacre of Istvan V, and helped in the slaughter of their brother Marines, the Raven Guard, the Salamanders, and the Iron Hands. However, there are rumours in the most secure circles of the Legion that there were other reasons that Alpharius led his Legion to the side of the traitors in the heresy. 2 years before the heresy began, Alpharius Omegon were contacted by an organisation known as the Cabal, an ancient Xenos group who brought the Primarch visions of the Heresy. It was their belief that if the Heresy was successful, the victory of Chaos would only last mere centuries, whilst the powers of Chaos grew too large and fought each other to extinction, finally freeing the galaxy of their terrible reign from the warp. For this reason, it was believed by some that while still loyal to the Imperium, Alpharius chose to side with the traitors to bring an end to Chaos. The Cabal also directed some of the Alpha Legion's actions, including sending them to Deliverance to prevent the rebuilding of the Raven Guard's numbers. You can see my previous Corvus Corax video for more details. And they used resentment on the world of Kiava, which Deliverance orbited, to stir up open rebellion to the Imperium, and also tainted the genetic research to be used to rebuild the Raven Guard. This shadow conflict played into Omegon's hands, who personally oversaw the conflict, and also stole some of the genetic research to assist in developing the Alpha Legion. They were obliged to give the research to Horus and Fabius Bile, chief apothecary of the Emperor's Children, but they only gave them an incomplete copy, keeping the lion's share of the completed data for themselves. However, after this conflict, the Legion broke away from the Cabal, killing their representative as a message that the Alpha Legion would complete this task in their own independent way. Alpharius also at this time delayed the White Scars from joining the Heresy until far later, and also had a hand in combating the Space Wolves, tying them up until they received reinforcement from the Dark Angels, and the Alpha Legion had to withdraw. Even after Horus was defeated, the Alpha Legion kept fighting to achieve their objectives, moving galactically east to fight the Ultramarines in their home systems. Eventually, Alpharius and Guilliman came together to fight on the world of Escrador. Guilliman surprised Alpharius by diverting from the Codex Astartes tactics by breaking up his forces and attacking the Alpha Legion command directly with a small strike force. The combat was brief, and Guilliman was far more suited for this combat than Alpharius, so the Alpha Legion Primarch was apparently defeated. However, Guilliman was surprised, as not only did this death not break the Alpha Legion's will, they only fought harder, apparently not leaderless and still receiving cohesive orders to fight. The Ultramarines were pushed back, having to flee despite killing the Alpha Legion's Primarch. It was likely that what truly happened was Omegon took control of the Legion when Alpharius fell, and continued to push the Ultramarines back even after his twin was killed. Now, there are some conflicting reports, with some believing Alpharius survived or that it was Omegon who fell during the duel. Regardless, the Primarch of the Alpha Legion has not been seen since that day, and the Alpha Legion has plagued the Ultramarines and the Imperium at large ever since. So that was my video on Alpharius, thank you for watching. Obviously this is one of the last videos on the Primarchs, bar the video on the 2 missing Primarchs, which I will do next. After that, obviously, I'm going to be going into more detail about the rest of the Heresy, including some more about the forces and the battles involved, and some more bits and pieces that I will have missed, like the Dark Mechanicum Uprising, etc. If you have anything specific you want to see, please leave it in the comments section below. Moving on to other things, the Dark Heresy livestream was cancelled on Monday. I apologise for all those who turned up wanted to see it. Unfortunately, we had a few player problems. One player has chosen no longer to participate, that is Jake, and one player was not available. So what will happen is we will be playing next Monday. It will only be with 3 people, but hopefully we can keep a cohesive narrative going for a little while. I may recruit more people later, but that's entirely up to the situation of the game. And that's it, basically. The next game will be on the 22nd of August, so if you are available and still fancy watching, please come and have a watch at 6:30 British Summer Time. In any case, that's everything I have to say today. See you next time on the Vaults of Terra.